Hey guys, Beer's like here. Now, as you can see, I have had my Realdoll for 3 years now, and so I thought I might as well talk about it for a moment here. Now, some of you guys were asking me to make this video a little while ago, but that was like a year ago, and so I decided to wait another year, to just make it at least 3 years before I show off, how she looks at the moment. And it's too bad because from what I see from here, the picture looks a little bit bright, which is just too bad. Here, let's try this. That's maybe a little bit better in some ways. You can at least see her texture more. I might turn on the light again for a bit, but still. But as you guys can see, this Realdoll after 3 years is in good shape. You don't see any marks on her or anything, and she's clean, etc. I'm just doing her hair a little bit here, but for the most part, nothing wrong has gone on with her. She looks great, as you can see. You can see her face. I'm not trying to cover up anything here. That's just kind of how the hair came out for a moment there. And, just beautiful. What can I say? But, the only thing that I really see is that some of, the nail polish has kind of come off a bit. As you can kind of see, if you can see that well enough. I'm not sure if you can see it from there. Probably not very well if you can. But, that's the nail polish on this doll is, very fixable. Very easily fixable. And not really much else to say, really. It took me some effort to put her on this stand, and let me tell you, I felt kind of, tired after I put her on the stand here. Now, as you can see, she can move freely and everything. After 3 years, she's still in somewhat almost perfect condition. I've managed to take great care of her. But that's also just due to the fact that, the more you use your love doll, if you know what I mean, the more you're going to see, wrong with your love doll as time goes on within a year or two. And since I don't use her, every freaking week, like I'm sure some guys would do. In fact, I know some people would probably want to use something like this, every day, for the most part, but I think you get the point. But yeah, there's like I've stated before, there's the tear that's under the armpits. And what happened, like I said, is that I raised her arms too high one time when I was trying to put a shirt on her, and it tore her armpit right here. But I fixed that. I glued it to get back together. It's just fine. Nothing to worry about. And of course, since I've had her, the only thing about this doll, of course, was just the weight. Just the weight issue. Sometimes, like I said, it took me some effort to put her up on the stand. I had to take her from my room and had to walk all the way over here and put her up on the stand. So that was a bit of a, but other than that, I haven't really had any issues. These Realdolls are very easy to take care of. When it comes to silicone, guys, I know some of you guys think that TPE is altogether better, but I've got to say, taking care of a silicone doll versus a TPE doll is a lot less hassle, even if this doll is 15 more pounds than my TPE doll was. It is so much freaking less hassle. Just the amount of ease that it takes to take care of a silicone doll versus a TPE doll is night and day difference. For instance, when it comes to impressions, now, if you don't know what impressions are like this: when you press into something, or if your doll sits down on a wooden chair, it's causing an impression. Now with silicone, silicone is made so that it keeps its shape almost no matter what. Now, of course, you still don't want to put it on a wooden chair, of course, but it really tries to keep its shape very well. And as you can see, from 3 years ago when I made the video on her, if you look that video up from 3 years ago and now, she seriously looks pretty much identical. There's no deformations, nothing. As you can see, they are very resistant, or much more resistant anyway, to impressions than a TPE doll. Also, they are much more resistant to discoloration and dirt. So that's, whoop, I dropped it. Yeah. So that's when, let's say, dirt or ink gets on this love doll, it's going to take a lot more effort for that ink and or dirt for that stuff to, let's say, absorb into the doll material with silicone. It is also much more resistant to discoloration because of that, which is why it is also much easier to care for, let me tell you. And it also, over time, because that's stuff that gets rid of, like the dye, like that dye eraser for like the TPE dolls, it costs like $50 per thing, like that much of it. And when you run out of that, more dirt gets on that TPE doll, and then you have to pay another $50 just to get that proper, dye eraser stuff for the, TPE dolls. And that was kind of another thing with the TPE dolls that I disliked as well. Which, man, I mean, just those two things alone make a much big and better difference, let me tell you. All right, let's read this comment here. I mean, in my opinion, it's better. I'm of course going to stop, trying to argue with you guys whether silicone is better or not. If you guys think that silicone is better, I'm going to let you guys think that, because, that's just my opinion. Now, the main reason why people tend to think that, TPE is better than silicone is because of, like, I would say the push pressure. And a lot of people think that, TPE is softer. But in reality, TPE is only softer by the push. And what I mean by that is, if I press onto here, like that, if I just press, the TPE is going to feel a little bit softer in that respect. But let's say if I do something like this, if I just rub it like that, up and down, like on your arm there, silicone is softer to the touch. So that when I touch it like this, it feels at least more like real skin on the surface. And no offense, but it's still kind of soft to the push. TPE is maybe a little bit softer to the push, but that's it. And take it from me, I've had both. Okay, what else are you saying here? I'm not arguing. Whatever is easier to manage. Do you have any experience with any of the AI or robotic love dolls, or do you plan on trying one? Well, I've kind of talked about it before, but I guess I'll talk about it again. I'm, one day, sometime down the line, planning on getting an AI doll. I'm not sure when I'm getting one. I mean, it could be like, I don't know, 10 years from now that I'll get one. And the reason why is because every time these, AI love dolls talk, it sounds like Siri is talking to you. Let's say if I was in bed with one of those love dolls as an AI doll, I would feel like I was like making love to Siri or something, if that makes sense. Because of the way the love doll's talking. I would have to shut off the AI just so I could have, so I could use my imagination a little more instead of having to hear something that sounds like Siri, if that makes any sense. Says, I'm with you. I don't think they aren't quite there just yet. It's so cringy how they talk. Yeah, I agree. I see you guys agree with me. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's neat. We've come a long way with AI. So don't get me wrong. It's really neat. when you talk to it, and you can actually have a bit of a conversation with them. But it's just not there for me yet. They should hire a female to do voiceovers. That's not hard to do. Well, the thing is that they do. Actually, it's just that when a female voice comes out of a machine like that, it doesn't really sound quite right and sincere. Is the deal? I mean, real women actually do voiceovers for this kind of stuff, just like Siri. A real person actually did a voiceover for Siri. Actually, it's just that when it comes out of that machine, it's just pre-recorded voices, and so it just doesn't really come out right sometimes. It still sounds kind of robotic is the thing. So they're getting there. They've gone better than when I was a kid in the 90s, definitely, but they just aren't really there yet. They haven't gone past that pre-recorded stage yet, is what the problem is. What they're going to have to do to fix the problem is that they're going to have to go beyond the pre-recorded stage of making female voices with robotics, so that it sounds more sincere and like a person would anyway. But again, still pretty neat. But it could be a decade before I would buy one of those. He says yes, but it doesn't sound human. Yes, I mean, kind of like I said, it still doesn't really sound right. Because how it's pre-recorded. But I mean, I don't really have anything else to say, the least. But as far as what I think is more realistic between TPE and silicone, I mean, as far as Realdoll goes, I think it's more realistic. I'm not sure about some of the other love dolls that are made out of silicone from other companies, but I'll explain. So let's say you're with a TPE doll. Well, the thing is that, sometimes those TPE dolls are so soft to the push that, let's say, your, TPE doll's knee is up against even a cushion like your bed. Well, that knee is still going through that material because of how soft to the push it is. Now, with this Realdoll here, if this Realdoll's knee goes up against the bed, like a bed mattress, it's going to be just fine. And when your legs are going up against, her legs, when you're feeling her hands and feet, it feels more like a real hand and foot. You know what I mean? And it feels like when I'm grabbing this knee here, it feels more like a real knee. You know what I mean? Instead of just like an exoskeleton that you're feeling pushed through the TPE material is the deal. And it's kind of the same, I of course put in, jiggly breasts. So obviously these breasts feel, kind of realistic. And so on and so forth. And this isn't a real human hair wig because, the things that can happen to a real human hair wig, they take more care and everything. So, I of course got, the basic, hair. But I think it looks pretty good on her anyway. You don't really need a human hair wig. Although it does make it, I guess, it look that much more realistic. You seriously don't need it. Have you ever had to use Realdoll's customer service? Not very much. I had a question a couple of times, because when I look up stuff, to, clean stuff, I mean, I already kind of had the cleaning down before I got the Realdoll anyway. But the only thing I really asked them at one point, because they were kind of, taking a long time, they were over their 6-month, sending time period, which is what they say is pretty average. So I was like, okay, it's been over 6 months now. Like, are you guys going to send the doll now? I mean, is it almost done? And they, of course, said, after like a couple weeks after I sent that message, I was starting to get worried. And they're like, oh, yeah, we found your doll. Yeah, she's almost done. She should be done within a month or so. And finally, after the 7th month, they said, yep, she's done. I had to go through, the service and say, okay, do this and that, and they're asking me things like, "Oh, do you need any extra help for when the package gets there?" And like, no, because I don't want to pay another $250 for the service, even though it probably would help me out. Of course, for anybody that's a first-time buyer and you don't have a friend to help you with, getting, your Realdoll into your place, I would actually kind of recommend that, actually. But thanks for sharing this. Which body and head is she? I have that in my notes somewhere, but I forget what body and head she is. At least I forget what name it is anyway. But a lot of people have asked that to me before. I remember in my first Realdoll and features video, I do have the names and, body there, though. So you can go back and watch that video if you'd like. But otherwise, at the moment, I don't really remember the name. But what I did is instead of just buying the doll, because that actually can cost you up to another $1,000 more, what I did is that I went to their pre-built customization area, and because I saw that when I did the pre-customization, it was like $1,000 less. And the reason why that is because if you get a pre-built Realdoll without changing anything to it, what happens is that all the features on that Love doll just come with it, and so the price is a bit jacked up. And so when you go through your pre-built area, all of those features that you don't really need or want aren't there, right? So I just added the features. The only features that I added were the hyper-realistic eyes and the jiggly breast, and that was it. That's all I added to the doll of, the really good features. And so I got this Love doll for at least $700 less than it would have been if I just gotten the pre-build of that. Actually, it was a Sophia doll. Now I remember. I think her name was the Sophia. I also changed her skin tone because the Sophia doll's skin tone is a bit darker. And I, of course, just wanted to go a bit lighter. So I also changed her skin tone, as you can see. She's kind of more of a lighter skin than a darker toned skin, tan. Although, even as is, she looks very pretty, But and, of course, I got her a wig, like I said, afterwards, that I thought would look neat on her. And it does. What can I say? But let's see. I don't see any more questions, but if you guys have any more questions, I'll wait a moment here. You guys can ask me anything. Just try not to ask anything too personal or out there, I guess. But you can go ahead and ask me another thing. Do you know if the pre-built dolls are delivered faster? I would say that they're probably just about the same time, probably, I'm guessing. Because they don't start making the doll until you order it, is the thing. So I can maybe see it being a little bit faster, but probably not enough of a difference to just make it pre-built anyway. If that kind of makes sense, Is there any more questions? I know I'm just showing off right now. Okay, got it. Thanks. So with that, I guess I'll just end this video since we're almost at 20 minutes here. And we're over 19 now. And of course, if you guys have any more questions later on, you could go ahead and ask. And I'll, answer to the best of my ability. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.